Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. It's a kind of a place where one always gets nervous. And I wanted to talk about something which is not that often talked about, although it's probably most important phenomena to understand and to overcome. And it's avidya. What is avidya in our experience? We can think about the teaching is in a bit kind of a abstract way, maybe, like a maybe intellectual, almost like intellectual kind of a concept. And for it to work, we need to apply it to our life, to what we do and how we see things. Our attitude. And so investigation, Dhamma vichara, is the right attitude which leads to enlightenment. So what is investigation of avidya? What is avidya? What is ignorance? And none of us can say that we are free from it. I can only speak from myself, obviously, but I assume that there is a degree, and as we can think that avidya is not an object, is not in a way like clearly defined. You either have or you don't have it. Perhaps there are shades, a bit like you have some of it, or sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less. And thinking about it in our lives, in my life, what avidya is. And there is a good word that I can come up with. It's foolishness, stupidity, something that we maybe don't like to hear or think about ourselves as being stupid, but it is said by the Lord Buddha himself that a fool who thinks of himself as a wise person is a fool indeed, complete fool. A fool who knows that he is a fool is, at least to that extent, is wise. So admitting is perhaps the first step. Like with many obstacles or problems, admitting is the first step to overcoming it. And what exactly it is in, if it is not, if you kind of come down to mundane level, what is foolishness in how it manifests in our actions, in words. And I think of it sometimes as like we don't know. We just don't know the result of our actions. We don't understand. I think this is what is going to happen. And it doesn't happen like that. Like a bright example of cutting a branch that you are sitting on. Why would someone want to do that? Well, I didn't know that I will fall. If I cut the branch I sit on, I will fall. And in our lives, in my life, or probably in yours as well, it's full of episodes and situations like that, when I didn't know it will happen like that. I didn't know it will break. I didn't know you will be upset. We intend to have one result but get another. Or sometimes we are aiming at getting something achieved, getting a result of something, and we do get that result. But the price we pay is not comparable. The price we have to pay for it is far exceeds the value of what we get. And this is also manifestation of foolishness. And what price we pay? What do we lose? It can be something of material value or in a state of mind, a state of our heart. I don't want to come up with examples or like think about things or give you my own personal stories. It's really up to us individually to think about it, to investigate it, to explore it. And to try to look at when we are trying to get something, what price are we going to pay for it? Now the Buddha says that there are three obstacles: greed, aversion, and delusion, lobha, dosa, and moha. And we tend to incline to one or another habitually. And anger or dosa is something which is easy to see. I remember reading that in the scriptures years ago. It's easy to see and it's easy to overcome. So I thought, why is that? Well, because anger is something that burns you. It's difficult. to carry around is really unpleasant. And it's right in your gut. Easy to see. It's not pleasant. So we actually make effort to put it down when we see it. And with greed, with lobha, it's also easy to see, but it is difficult to put down, difficult to overcome. Why is that? Well, it's also quite obvious. It's if we just stop what we do and pay attention, it's right there. It's exciting. And it feels good, it's pleasant, satisfying. So it's difficult to put down because it gratifies, it's kind of nice. You get something nice. And just lust itself is nice, it's kind of pleasant. But moha, delusion, is difficult to see and it's difficult to overcome. It's difficult to see because it blinds you. And if you are blind, what can you see? It's not exciting. It's kind of a bit dull. Absent-minded, maybe. Mindless. Not seeing, not noticing, not understanding the consequences, the results of your action. Not seeing the cause and effect. If there is this, then there is that. It's easy to live like that in a kind of a subdued, maybe, state. Mentally not alert. So what are the causes for it to grow? For that kind of unalertness, dullness? And I would say that when we indulge in pleasures, when we allow ourselves to be overtaken by it, overcome. It leads to that state of dullness, you can say. And what are the pleasures that we tend to indulge in, tend to attach to, cling to? Well, there are sense pleasures, first of all. And then there are pleasures of ego, pleasures of feeling right, feeling strong, feeling dominant, feeling like you win an argument or can order people around or whatever. Pleasure is connected to conceit. Sometimes I have, from my own experience, I've seen people or someone arguing, defending their position which was clearly wrong. And later on I asked, why did you do that? Didn't you see that you were wrong? He said, well, I did, but I couldn't let them win because then you feel you're lost. And it's not pleasant to lose argument. Someone proves that you actually been foolish or didn't see something. It's somewhere in the scriptures where the Buddha says that if you find someone who can point out your faults, you have to value that person, follow them. If you just follow and value people who praise you, well, what are you going to learn from that? Lumpur Sumedho says, if there is avidya, the result will be suffering. So that's dependent origination in brief. When there is mindlessness, not understanding, not knowing, not understanding, not knowing things as they are. And it's not knowing about intellectual kind of exercise, but being present, being mindful. When Buddha talks about dependent origination, he, at least in the scriptures, it's avidya is not knowing the Four Noble Truths, which to most of us doesn't actually mean very much. Of course I know Four Noble Truths, but I still suffer. I still get upset or angry or whatever, deluded, make mistakes. So there must be something more to it, right? But really, as we practice, as we become more confident in the practice, when the Eightfold Path is developing, there is more, the clearer vision, clearer understanding, more mindfulness. Or mindfulness is clearer, you can say. And what does it lead to? So when we investigate the reality, investigate what happens, investigate the dependent origination, avidya, pachaya sankara. Yeah, so ignorance conditions what is created. Sometimes they call it like a mental creation. So how how I see it, how I examine it, is we create phenomena, giving them substance, giving them identity, and relate to those creations in some way, either finding them pleasant or painful, desirable or non-desirable, attractive, unattractive. Creating each other, trying, like fixing someone. Okay, this guy is like that. He's my buddy. I can trust him, but this one I can't. I don't want to. He's fishy. Not really understanding that these people are not the way we fix them. We change ourselves. Can I say that I know myself? And then we become disappointed. Because what we thought we know is turned out to be different. So we create the world we live in, and we don't even know that we do that. And then we suffer in it. We create ourselves, and then we suffer. There is an image of me how I want to be, and there are things that don't fit in that image. So I start suffering. Or I start trying to fix it. Bump up this or destroy this. There is some reality to that. There is some truth in it too. There is a kind of a mundane truth that we do have good habits, bad habits. We do need to develop good habits and free ourselves from bad habits. It's all there. But it's not liberating. It's mundane. It's temporary. It is what it is. Just like there is some satisfaction in foolishness. That example I think the Buddha gives about a man walking in a desert, being all thirsty, and then there is someone, some kind of maybe like a house or something, and then someone gives them a drink and says, look, this is a cool and sweet and really nice drink, really tasty. You can have it. But I have to tell you, it's poisonous. So after you drink it, then you die in pain. So a foolish man would see the sweetness and the coolness of it, just grab it and drink it, and delight in it. And obviously the wise person would not have it, would go without. So it's a simile for sense pleasures. And it's an illustration of what foolishness is. So how to free oneself from avidya? And I can only say mindfulness, not creating sankharas, not creating the world, not creating self and objects. So it's not a destruction of self, it's not a destruction of the world, but it's a destruction of ignorance. It results in liberation. We don't need to be kind of tensing up against sense pleasures, but we need to remind or remember not to delight in them. We don't need to tense up against or indulge or in painful feelings, but remind ourselves to be at ease and accept life as it is. Not being afraid of appearing like a fool, not always trying to be clever, or not being afraid of being criticized, or for losing an argument, or whatever. It's better to appear a fool than to be a fool. Just had a conversation a few days ago with someone, kind of short thing, and when we are acting, whether we're saying something or doing something with like physically acting by body, speech or mind, or intending something, what we should be examining or looking at is not how it feels, whether it feels good or it will feel good, but what consequences are going to be of this action, of those words, of this intent. Not on some kind of personal level, for me, what is here in it for me, but generally, every action has a result, some kind of consequence. If we start thinking about it, kind of proliferating, we can get lost in doubts. But if we get kind of entangled in emotions, whether it's feel good or doesn't feel good, we can also not see the reality, not understand. So it's more to do with, we come back to this presence of mind, intuitive awareness, if you want to. This morning someone left a bowl, I think it was this morning or yesterday, in the bathroom. Someone had a porridge and left it in the bathroom, in the monk's vihara. It was sitting there all morning. And I walked kind of a few times back and forth, and I don't know, did they forget about it or what? And then there was a meal, and monks washed the bowls. And then as I was walking out, and I thought, I wonder if someone actually washed that bowl, that kind of a plastic bowl from the morning. Someone put it on a shoe rack. It was still there with the porridge in it, and so I thought, well, maybe I just wash it. I could sense that kind of temptation to start thinking, well, maybe it's a lesson for somebody, or let it be there, and no, just wash it. Just wash it, put it away. So it's a slow process, and ignorance is difficult to see and difficult to overcome. But there is no other way. Ignorance is bliss, is not really an option, is not true. When there is avijja, there is dukkha. So this is something we need to remember and investigate. I think enough for today.